Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about Big. This is a coming-of-age comedy from 1988 starring Tom Hanks that I'm sure a lot of you have seen. It's a cult classic. I feel like this has been talked about for years and years and years. This goes, obviously without saying, Tom Hanks was the biggest actor for the longest time in the 80s and the 90s and such. So him being the lead in this just makes it feel so nostalgic. Even from somebody like me who's never seen it before, it just feels like a movie that's always been there. And I really, really enjoyed it. I think that for the most part, it was very fun. I think the pedophile undertones are fucking crazy. We're definitely going to get into more of that in a minute here. But if you haven't seen it, basically, Big is about Tom Hanks as a 13-year-old wanting to be a grown-up, as we all have when we were kids. You just want more freedom. You want to be able to do whatever you want when you're a kid. And so he goes to some fair, and his parents lose track of him, and he ends up at a Zoltar wishing machine, and he just wishes to be big. And the Zoltar machine takes him completely literally, of course, because, shout out, love that trope. And it turns him into a grown-ass man the very next morning. He wakes up, and he immediately, first thing that any boy would do, wakes up, looks at his body hair, and then immediately looks at his penis. Shout out, that's one of the boys right there. He obviously is now a grown man in, his freaking kid's underwear in his mom's house. So his mom is like freaking out, losing her mind, and he has to get out of the house before, she basically kills him. And because she thinks that this crazy grown man has come in and put on her child's underwear and kidnapped him. I mean, it's like, dude, the undertone of this movie is extremely dark, but like the whole thing is supposed to be this like, super funny. And it is for the most part. Everything is very like, oh, he doesn't drink coffee because, he's a child, and like he's running through the halls at full speed at his job because somebody told him that they needed something quickly, and, just running people over and stuff like that. And nobody, kind of like how I'm doing in GTA. Why is that guy just walking in the road? Just all those like very fun, silly, light, childish things. But then, on the back burner of all of this, his mother is losing her shit because she feels like her child has been ambushed. So because she's losing her mind, Tom Hanks, playing a kid named Josh goes to his best friend Billy, the only person that he thinks will believe him. And after a very small amount of convincing and showing Billy that he knows their little secret song and dance, Billy is like, oh shit, this grown-ass man actually is my 13-year-old best friend, Josh. So he's like, all right, we got to help you out. Billy is such a real one, like the realest friend in the entire world. He's literally what keeps this movie together. And I love a supporting role like that, where it's like this, 13-year-old boy, everything hangs in the balance of him just because he wants his friend back. And so he's going to go to the ends of the earth to get him back. Very nice, very wholesome. Absolutely love that aspect of it. So Billy basically says to him, listen, we got to go find a Zoltar machine. The fair had closed down the very next night, so we've just got to go and find a Zoltar machine and we can wish you back. So they have no idea where they are, and it's the 80s, so they go to some district court office and they try to get a list of where all of these Zoltar machines are, but they say that it's going to take them like a month and a half if they're lucky to get all of the paperwork back so that they can actually find out. How did that just explode so quickly? Am I dead? I'm dead. No. Well, this review's going so great, we're not going to care about it. We'll just steal an ambulance outside the hospital. So anyways, there's no hospital. We're in the middle of nowhere. All right, cool. So they go to New York to try to find this Zoltar. They realize that they can't find it. Billy steals some money from his dad's sock drawer, his emergency fund, because he says, in quotes, this is an emergency, isn't it? Yes, it is. So he gives it to Tom Hanks, and they get a hotel room for him. So that night he stays in like, the most nightmare fuel hotel. It's like a caricature of what a hotel would be in like, the shittiest part of New York. You would never actually, find something like this probably, but it's just like everything that a kid would be terrified of is happening. There's people arguing, there's gunshots, there's all this stuff, and he's getting that kind of, yeah, I kind of just like being a kid, and being an adult is too many responsibilities and all that. So that is also very nice. But there starts to become a point where he just kind of comes to terms with the fact that he needs to become an adult for the time being. And so that's what he does. He goes in and he starts applying to a bunch of different places. And this is when the movie sort of turns into a Key and Peele skit where, like, everything is supposed to stop the, like, trajectory of where this character's going. But it's just like, you wrote down your social security number wrong. You're missing a couple of numbers, because he doesn't know his social, of course. And it's like, he goes, 12. And he goes, 1, 2. You know, it's just kind of like everything that he says will be the right thing. And that does get a little bit repetitive at a certain point. And then the movie pivots into this spot that does feel a little bit uncomfortable. It definitely is what would happen, I think, if a 13-year-old boy was put into a 30-year-old man's body and was going through life like this. You know, he is interested in girls and he wants to learn about them and all this stuff. But, like, we know the entire time that this is a 13-year-old boy trapped in a grown man's body, and we're watching him, like, you know, rizz up one of his coworkers. And I just find that a little bit insane. And this woman, like, falls in love with him. They have sex, and it immediately changes everything about him. He was once this, you know, everybody loved him because he's, like, this light guy, and he works at a place where they sell toys, and he's, you know, just like a kid and all this kind of stuff. But now he's coming in and he's wanting he's wanting coffee. He's wanting, you know, to kind of, like, be more of an adult, like, immediately after having sex, which is funny, and I definitely do know that that is a thing. Shout out. It probably happened to me. I looked at my toys and said, I don't want to play with you anymore after I got, you know, my first girlfriend or whatever the case may be. But, you know, then she finds out, of course, at the end of the movie that he's a child, and she doesn't believe it at first when he tells her. And then she comes to terms with the fact that he actually is a child because of, like, this very random line that Billy comes in and says when he's trying to find him, because Billy finally gets the papers after all this time. Meanwhile, by the way, his mother is thinking that her child has disappeared for a month and a half. He's just living the life, got this great job, everybody loves him, has a whole new friend group, has a girlfriend, all this stuff, and his mother's, like, beside herself every night. Billy gets the papers back and goes to try to, you know, shake some sense into Josh at this point because he's enjoying himself. He doesn't really want to turn back into a kid now. And so, Billy says one thing and it gets Susan, his girlfriend, to think. And she's like, oh my God, he really is a child. And she's like, you need to take me to him. So he takes Susan to Tom, and, you know, he's doing the wish to get himself set back into a fucking boy again, and it's just insane because she's like, so you really are a boy, huh? And he goes, yeah, I am. She goes, well, you're like 15 or 16, right? Like, she's still gonna date him if he's 15 or 16. That's the time period that we're in, ladies and gentlemen. And he goes, no, I'm 13. And she's like, oh my God. She goes, well, maybe in 10 years. I mean, who knows? And it's like, what? What do you mean? So now you're grooming him, and it's supposed to be like this aw moment, because I guess, like, because it's a boy and not I mean, roles reversed. I hate to be this guy, but let's reverse the roles on this and make it a woman and a full-blown man being like, you're 13? Just call me back in 10 years. You'll be 23 nice and ready. Like, what? That is fucking insane. So that part was really off-putting, and then, like, she drops him off at his house, and you're kind of thinking, well, how is he going to change back into the kid? Because he's a grown man when he just wakes up. That's, like, the first thing that happens is he wakes up and he's a grown man after making the wish. So it's like, oh, he's going to go in there and he's going to have to go to bed somehow? No. He literally just starts walking away. He looks, like, back at her. She looks back at him. She looks down for half a second. Susan, his girlfriend, looks down for half a second. And then she just looks back up, and he is a child in a full suit, like just a literal 13-year-old that he, like, smiles at her. And I'm pretty sure she even is like, at least he's a cute kid or something like that. Absolutely unhinged, crazy, crazy movie. Now, I'll say for the most part, just throwing it on and watching it sort of like a time capsule from these old comedies, it does feel cheesy in, like, the best way possible. And it is still a very, very enjoyable watch if you're gonna just laugh at that kind of stuff. If you start to think about it a little too deep, like the fact that everybody was just okay with this being, you know, the plot of the one of the biggest comedy movies of all time. Like, it ending with this woman thirsting over a 13-year-old, and some people just didn't even find that, like, ironic or satire, which maybe it was meant to be. I just think that back to that time, there's a lot of movies that have a lot of questionable things that are sort of these, like, coming-of-age kind of movies and stuff. You know, whether that be with just overly sexual innuendos about literal children, or just, like, this weird air about, like, the teachers being, like, sexual, and, like, the older people just being, like, you know, kind of, I don't know, preying on them. So if you don't think about that too much, then it really is a super fun movie. I'm not giving it the best due diligence, and it's probably sound like I don't like it. I do like it. I think Tom Hanks is so good, especially young Tom Hanks, and his, like, this is, like, his acting prime. Like, the dude was legitimately running the box office for 10 to 15 years around this time. Nobody could touch him, and it's obvious why. He does play a kid trapped in a grown man's body the way that you would expect it. And so many things that he does when you go, oh yeah, I guess I probably would do that if that was me. Or like, oh yeah, I guess a kid would act like that, or a kid would eat that way, and stuff. And I thought that was very fun. It does get a little bit old at a certain point, but the runtime is like an hour and 44 minutes, and I think it only runs for like an hour and 38 or something. So it's really not like that. It doesn't really beat you over the head over and over and over again. All in all, though, I think that this is just kind of like one of those that you can throw on, kick back on the weekend. Maybe if, you know, one day when I have children, throw it on with them and kind of show them, like, hey, doesn't this look super fun? And then it's like, oh, yeah, look at all the real life shit you have to deal with. It kind of fucking sucks. Like, I don't know, maybe doing like that and letting them know. I think that this movie has aged okay in terms of, like, the actual premise of it being super, super fun. But I think that obviously the part that aged terrible is that ending there. I mean, it's just like, and the last 20 minutes being the time when, like, this woman falls in love with him and they begin their little thing with each other. I just think that is, like, you know, obviously going to keep aging into, you know, more chunky milk as time goes on. So I would rate Big. I'd probably say it's like a 7.2 out of 10. Definitely fun, definitely enjoyable. There were certainly a lot of moments where I was laughing out loud, especially when he's just running through the halls in his office building and completely, like, tackles his boss. I thought that was so funny, so unexpected. Yeah, and I think that that's probably my favorite scene of all of it. Really is just, like, all of the interactions that he had with his best friend, and, like, the way that he's just constantly trying to get him back, and he's the one that saves this whole story. And I probably didn't do this justice at all. I feel like my brain is all scattered all over the place with Big, but we've already made this review. Big is not one of those movies that I hold in such a high respect that I would just scrap this and make a new one, like my There Will Be Blood or Gangs of New York video. Go watch those if you haven't seen them yet. Shout out to all of the love. Anybody that is still here, please like, subscribe, and come back to keep checking for further videos, because I am going to keep pumping them out. I just watched Prisoners with my girlfriend over the weekend. I'm going to rewatch that one and make my review on it soon. That will hopefully be the next one that I make. So stay tuned for that. And like I said, like and sub if you are new. If you've already liked and already subbed, I appreciate the fuck out of you. Thank you guys for watching. And now I'm going to pause this and switch to my second monitor, because I do not know how to edit, and we do not edit on this channel. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and good night.